The world stood still as the wrestling universe mourned the passing of one of its most iconic figures. Fans, family, and legends of the squared circle gathered to bid farewell to a man whose very name was synonymous with charisma, power, and legacy, Hulk Hogan. Born Terry Jean Bollea, Hogan was laid to rest on July 26, 2025, in a private, deeply moving ceremony in Clearwater, Florida, the city where he built his home, raised his children, and forever altered the course of professional wrestling. The news of Hogan's death, announced just 2 days prior, sent shockwaves not only through the wrestling industry but across the broader world of sports and entertainment. For generations, he wasn't just a performer. He was a living, breathing superhero, headband and all. He turned leg drops into folklore and transformed the question, "Whatcha gonna do?" into a battle cry for millions of fans. Yet in the final chapter of his life, there were no bright lights or roaring crowds. Only a stillness, filled with reverence and love from those who knew him best. His funeral took place at Bay Pines National Cemetery, a serene resting ground overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. It was a private affair, honoring Hogan's wishes, but its emotional weight could be felt far beyond the gates. The casket wasn't draped in an American flag or the WWE emblem. Instead, it was cloaked in a custom red and yellow cloth, emblazoned with Hogan's famous mantra, "Train. Say your prayers. Eat your vitamins." Guests were welcomed with a soft instrumental of Real American, Hogan's legendary entrance theme. Slower now, almost hymn-like, it echoed through the chapel. Inside, there were no jumbotrons or raucous chants, just photographs capturing the essence of his journey, Hogan in the ring with his children, smiling with fans, and flexing in that unforgettable mustache and pose. At the front, a small table held his final pair of wrestling boots, worn, yet carefully polished. The Bollea family sat in the front row, faces etched with sorrow, yet radiating pride. Brooke Hogan, his daughter, stood trembling as she spoke to the crowd. To the world, he was Hulk Hogan. To me, he was just Dad, my protector, my superhero, my biggest fan, and now, my greatest heartbreak. Beside her, Nick Hogan quietly stepped forward and placed a yellow bandana atop the casket, a final gesture to the man who had loomed large over his childhood. Hogan's wife, Sky Daly, clutched a framed photo from their wedding, tears streaming freely. According to those closest to them, Hogan had told her just weeks before his passing, "If I go tomorrow, just know that I finally found peace, with you." Outside the gates, fans transformed the perimeter of the cemetery into a sea of red and yellow. Some came dressed like miniature Hulks, others brought replica championship belts and handmade signs that read, "Thank you, Hulkster, and you slammed giants, and you lifted us all." A lone speaker played Real American on loop. Every chord brought with it a mix of cheers, tears, and silence. It was more than a farewell, it was a national moment of remembrance. Wrestling royalty arrived in silence. Vince McMahon, the man who helped shape modern wrestling alongside Hogan, was among the first to speak after the service. Hulk Hogan didn't just change the game. He built it. He made wrestling a household name. He made doubters into believers. Without him, we wouldn't be here today. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, despite filming overseas, flew in overnight to pay tribute. Dressed in a black suit and his trademark shades, he laid a bandana beside the flowers atop the casket. Speaking softly to reporters, he said, "Without him, there is no Rock. He laid the foundation. Everything I am in this business, I owe in part to Hulk Hogan." John Cena stood shoulder to shoulder with Hogan's family, emotion clearly visible in his eyes. "He didn't just open the doors for us," Cena said. "He tore the whole damn building down so we could walk through freely." Hulk Hogan was our North Star. Ric Flair, Hogan's in-ring rival and lifelong friend, delivered the most gut-wrenching tribute of all. Voice trembling, he said, "We feuded. We fought. We made history. But above all, we respected each other. Wrestling lost its heartbeat today, and I lost my best friend." Dozens of other superstars, past and present, came to pay their respects: Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, even stars from rival company AEW. Sasha Banks, now under a different banner, tweeted, "He made us feel like superheroes before we ever laced up our boots." Outside, the fans broke into one last unified chant, "Whatcha gonna do when Hulkamania runs wild on you?" As the casket was lowered, that chant turned to applause. And then, silence. Hogan's passing drew comparisons to the public grief felt after the deaths of Muhammad Ali and Kobe Bryant. But Hogan's loss was unique. He wasn't just a wrestling icon. He was a symbol of American resilience, spectacle, and heart. Billionaires and barefoot kids stood side by side. Rival wrestlers embraced. And the world remembered a man who made them believe in something bigger than themselves. Tributes poured in from beyond the wrestling world. Sylvester Stallone, who starred opposite Hogan in Rocky III, posted a touching photo of the two with the caption, "We were both young and hungry." Terry Hogan had wild energy on set, but off camera, he was kind, thoughtful, a gentle giant. "I've lost a brother today." Shaquille O'Neal, who once shared a ring with Hogan, tweeted a photo of them flexing backstage, "My childhood hero. My friend. Rest easy, brother." He recalled practicing Hogan's leg drop on his younger siblings, much to the dismay of his mother. "Hulk made us believe we were all larger than life," he added. Even Mike Tyson chimed in, calling Hogan a true showman and an inspiration. Meanwhile, military organizations and political leaders issued formal tributes. Hogan had been a long-time supporter of the troops, often visiting bases, donating to veterans, and waving the American flag during entrances. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared July 24 Hulk Hogan Day, saying, "Terry Bollea embodied the spirit of Florida, bold, brash, and unapologetically proud. But more importantly, he had a heart of gold." The U.S. Marine Corps posted a tribute thanking him for being a champion of their men and women in uniform. The entertainment world mourned his loss as well. From Saturday Night Live to Baywatch, Hogan was a cultural mainstay. Jimmy Fallon aired their final Tonight Show segment and wiped away tears, calling Hogan the kind of guest who made the crew smile just by walking in. At his core, Hulk Hogan represented hope. His iconic catchphrases, "Say your prayers and eat your vitamins," weren't just slogans. They were lessons. He inspired millions of children to believe in the triumph of good over evil. Even former President Barack Obama tweeted, "Hulk Hogan was an enduring symbol of American pop culture." His story inspired millions. As the sun set and the final chords of Real American played on bagpipes, an emotional, unexpected farewell, wrestlers stepped forward to leave symbolic items by his grave, a replica championship belt, his signature sunglasses, a figurine of him slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania. Among the crowd stood children, some too young to remember his heyday, but old enough to feel the legacy. One whispered, "He was my dad's hero, now he's mine too." Hogan's story will never be reduced to just 6 world titles or a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His true legacy was that of a man who redefined heroism. Loud, flawed, passionate, but always fighting for what he believed in. He taught us that heroes fall but get back up. That one man could slam a giant and make the world believe in miracles. Rest in power, Hulk Hogan. You weren't just a wrestler, you were an era. A memory. A movement etched into the fabric of pop culture. You've dropped the leg one final time, brother. But your torch will burn on. In the days and weeks following Hulk Hogan's funeral, the outpouring of love didn't fade, it intensified. What started as a tribute within the wrestling community soon evolved into a global celebration of his life. Social media feeds overflowed with personal stories, old match clips, and fan art. Hashtags like #ThankYouHogan and #ForeverHulkamania began trending worldwide, creating a virtual memorial that spanned continents and generations. Across WWE programming, Hogan's presence was felt in every segment. Monday Night Raw opened with a 10-bell salute, as the locker room, heels and babyfaces alike, stood united on the stage. The arena was bathed in red and yellow lighting. Commentators choked back tears as they honored a man whose spirit had shaped their very careers. Michael Cole summed it up best, "Without Hulk Hogan, there is no WWE as we know it." He wasn't just a pioneer, he was the blueprint. On SmackDown, an emotional tribute video aired, spliced with footage from Hogan's greatest moments, from his iconic match with Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 to his dramatic returns in the 2000s. But the part that drew the loudest reaction wasn't a match. It was a candid backstage clip of Hogan, laughing with young superstars, giving advice, and signing autographs without cameras rolling. It reminded fans that behind the legend was a man who never forgot where he came from. AEW, WWE's chief rival, also paid tribute. Tony Khan opened their Dynamite broadcast with a heartfelt message: "We may not have shared a ring with Hulk Hogan, but we share a history that he helped create." Tonight, we honor a man whose impact transcended promotions and generations. A special video aired, featuring stars like Chris Jericho, Sting, and Bryan Danielson reflecting on how Hogan inspired their journeys. The wrestling world was no longer divided, it was united in grief. Meanwhile, tributes poured in from places even Hogan himself might not have imagined. NASA engineers posted a photo of a space station technician wearing a Hulkamania shirt, writing, "Even in orbit, Hulk's spirit runs wild." The U.S. Navy christened a training day for new recruits Hogan Day, where instead of standard chants, drill instructors led trainees with a rousing cry, "Whatcha gonna do?" In Tampa, just a few miles from Clearwater, the city council held a special session to rename a stretch of Gulf to Bay Boulevard as Hulk Hogan Way. The mayor declared that Hogan was more than a sports figure, he was a living monument of this community's strength, perseverance, and pride. Plans were announced for a bronze statue to be erected outside Amalie Arena, showing Hogan mid-flex, cape flying, belt around his waist, immortalizing the icon for generations to come. And then came the fans. All across the country, and the world, people gathered for unofficial memorials. In Tokyo, hundreds of fans filled Korakuen Hall wearing Hulkamania shirts. In London, Wembley Park saw a spontaneous Hulk Hogan cosplay parade. In Brazil, a mural artist painted a towering portrait of Hogan on a favela wall, beneath the words, "Lute como herói, fight like a hero." Perhaps the most emotional tribute came from a little boy in Iowa named Jesse. He'd been battling leukemia and had met Hogan through a Make-A-Wish appearance a year earlier. In a video shared by his family, Jesse clutched a signed bandana Hogan had given him and whispered, "He said I was strong like him. Now I know he's still fighting for me, even in heaven." That video went viral overnight, touching millions and prompting fans to donate to pediatric cancer charities in Hogan's name. WWE partnered with Make-A-Wish to launch the Hulk Strong Foundation, aimed at helping critically ill children find strength through storytelling, wrestling, and hope. Meanwhile, WWE Network launched a limited docuseries titled Hulk Hogan, The Immortal Era. The series dove deep into Hogan's real-life struggles, his early career rejection, the health battles, personal controversies, and how he always found a way back to the ring, to the fans, and ultimately, to redemption. It was raw, vulnerable, and humanizing. And perhaps that's why it hit so hard. Because in death, the world didn't just remember Hulk Hogan the superhero, it rediscovered Terry Bollea, the man beneath the mustache. In the final episode, an unreleased interview recorded just months before his passing aired. Sitting in his Clearwater home, Hogan looked directly into the camera and said, "If all they remember is the guy in the bandana throwing leg drops, that's cool. But I hope they also remember that I tried. I stumbled, I failed, I got back up. I just wanted people to believe in themselves, because I believed in them." That quote would be etched onto the statue unveiled weeks later in front of the arena, alongside a single word, immortal. In schools and community centers, Hogan's legacy was already being taught as more than wrestling history. He became a case study in perseverance, branding, and cultural influence. University lectures dissected his transition from wrestler to pop culture phenomenon, from reality TV star to children's hero. He became the subject of think pieces, museum exhibits, and even college art installations. Hulk Hogan had crossed the final threshold, from star to myth. As the wrestling world prepared for WrestleMania 41, rumors began swirling. A special Hall of Fame induction segment was being planned, not just to honor Hogan again, but to rename the entire Hall of Fame building in Orlando as the Hulk Hogan Hall of Immortals. A fitting tribute for the man who made the word immortal mean something more than marketing. And in the final scene of the tribute video, used to close out Raw, a simple message faded in across black. Heroes are remembered. Legends never die. But Hulk Hogan lives forever. As the road to WrestleMania 41 ramped up, it became clear that this year's event would be unlike any before. WWE wasn't just building toward the biggest show of the year, they were crafting a historic tribute, a living monument to the man who made WrestleMania what it is today. Hulk Hogan, who headlined the very first WrestleMania and immortalized its spectacle, was now set to become the soul of its 41st installment. The announcement came during the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. After the main event, the lights dimmed and a cinematic tribute aired, footage of Hogan body-slamming giants, crowds erupting in Hulkamania fever, his iconic poses silhouetted in golden light. Then, the reveal, WrestleMania 41's central theme would be Immortal, a tribute to Hulk Hogan. For the first time in WWE history, the entire WrestleMania stage design, branding, and production aesthetic would be inspired by one man. Red and yellow. 24-inch pythons. Lightning bolts. A Titan-sized homage. In the weeks that followed, WWE began unveiling plans. The WrestleMania stage would resemble a giant homage to the Hulkster, complete with a life-size replica of the old Hulk Rules banner that used to hang in the rafters, pyro cannons in the shape of his signature sunglasses, and even an entrance ramp styled like the old WrestleMania 3 tunnel where Hogan once walked out to slam Andre the Giant. But beyond the visuals, the card itself reflected his spirit. Triple H, now fully at the helm of creative, made it clear, WrestleMania 41 will honor Hulk Hogan not with tears, but with fights, big, bold, fearless fights. That's how he lived. That's how he entertained. And that's how we'll remember him. One of the marquee matches featured Cody Rhodes, carrying the legacy of his own legendary father, squaring off against Gunther in a match dubbed the modern-day Dream vs. The Ring General. It was a classic story of honor, grit, and tradition, exactly the kind of narrative Hogan would have elevated to mythic proportions. Meanwhile, the women's division was delivering a match billed as Icon vs. Inspiration, where Charlotte Flair would battle rising star Roxanne Perez. Perez, in her promos, openly credited Hulk Hogan for inspiring her as a child. "He made me believe in heroes," she said, "and now I get to wrestle one of mine." But the emotional core of WrestleMania 41 was saved for one special match. An unsanctioned, one-night-only bout that no one expected, John Cena vs. The Rock. The announcement sent shockwaves. Neither man had wrestled full-time in years. But both came back, for him. During a joint appearance on Raw, The Rock and Cena stood center ring, eyes locked. "We've fought each other before," Rock said, "but this is different. This one's not for ego. This is for the man who made us believe we could become who we are." John Cena nodded and added, "He gave us the ring. Now we give him the show." The build-up was masterful. Vignettes showed Cena watching Hogan's old promos, Rock revisiting the first time he met Hulk backstage at Survivor Series. Fans were emotional. This wasn't just a match, it was closure. A passing of the torch from the final giants of Hogan's lineage. WrestleMania week in Miami was electric. Hogan's memorabilia filled the convention center. WWE's Fan Expo, Access, featured a holographic Hulk experience where fans could pose and cut promos with a digitally recreated version of the Hulkster. Kids who had never seen him wrestle in person now chanted Hogan. Hogan, with the same fire as their parents did decades earlier. On the night of WrestleMania 41, over 90,000 fans packed the stadium, most wearing red and yellow in unison. Chants of "Whatcha Gonna Do" filled the air. Then, as the lights dimmed, the main tribute began. A massive screen lit up with a message, "This one's for you, brother." Bagpipes echoed through the stadium once again, but this time, they played alongside a rock guitar solo. The song? A special orchestral rock rendition of "Real American." As it built to a crescendo, fireworks exploded and a hologram of Hogan appeared at the top of the stage, doing his classic ear-cup pose. The crowd lost it. It was surreal. Magical. WWE had recreated one final entrance for the legend. And then came the true tearjerker, the Hall of Fame induction. Instead of a single inductee, WWE announced the creation of the Hulk Hogan Immortal class, a one-time-only class that inducted wrestlers who were either directly influenced by Hogan or had helped shape the industry alongside him. Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, posthumously. Randy Savage, posthumously. The Ultimate Warrior, posthumously. And for the first time ever, Hulk Hogan himself was re-inducted, this time not just as a wrestler, but as the very spirit of the WWE Hall of Fame. His family took the stage, Brooke, Nick, and Sky, accepting the award on his behalf. Brooke's voice cracked as she said, "Dad used to say he was larger than life. But tonight, you've proven that his heart was even bigger than that." The night closed with The Rock and John Cena's match. No championships. No stipulations. Just respect. They battled for 20 minutes in a match that felt more like a dance than a fight. Two icons telling a story in every movement. When it was over, the two stood in the center of the ring. They embraced. And then, they both pointed to the heavens. As the final pyro erupted and WrestleMania's logo faded from the screens, the last image was simple, the words "Thank you, Hulk." But even that wasn't the end. In the months that followed, WWE announced the creation of the Hulk Hogan Foundation for Kids, a nonprofit dedicated to helping underprivileged youth pursue their dreams, whether in sports, arts, or community leadership. Every year, WWE would host the Hulkamania Games, a youth-oriented festival celebrating courage, strength, and character.